sitting waiting here all alone. No one to see, nowhere to go. Trying to convince myself not to stir, but a person like you is pretty rare. Why am I like this? Am I broken? What's wrong with me? I tend to be drawn to those who don't love me. No, you're inexistent. Love can't touch me. That's a lie, but it's very reassuring. I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. No, I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. So I'm stuck here fighting for my life, 'cause I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. Give me a reason to walk away, yeah. No, scratch that, give me one to stay, and I will forever be your second choice, baby. And I wish that I could say that's okay. Why am I like this? Am I broken? What's wrong with me? I tend to be drawn to those who don't love me. No, you're inexistent. Love can't touch me. That's a lie, but it's very reassuring. I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. No, I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. So I'm stuck here fighting for my life, 'cause I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. No, somebody call the paramedics. I'm through, I'm done. Go on and grab your gold ass medal. It's true you won. And I'm tired of playing this game with all these states. I was never a player, never loved it. Don't have what it takes. I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. And I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. So I'm stuck here fighting for my life, 'cause I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. No, I don't wanna be a plan B in your life. No, no, no. No.
Power. Where does power manifest? Fist raised, fist clenching, gun. The son of the western white bosom of the final one, looking to the sun, wondering, what have they done to my people? Off steeples they scream once they have been seen. The fear deep turns hands and lips purple as they fear the penal. Ties in families depleting, the sounds, bullets unsheathing, haunting their mental, decades of defeating. Fear chalked up by laws after the dogs, lynchings, enlistings in a federation whose dogma says, I can't be chilling with my dogs. Because the gun, forced upon you by white ones who told you you could be one, that in our submission to using their metallic black brethren, we could escape the persecution of their gun. Was it greed? I can't come to that conclusion, not quickly. I must assume they wouldn't proceed with such an ultimatum unless in desperate need. Unless there was a devil's dance, a trying truce resulting in their execution or existence, an unbridled bribe, some stealthy slip of sweet, stable survival. So is this power, one longing for the world unknown, and one form which the situation had run from which the situation was sown? The dower received from the broken promise of the sour, that we hold dominion over another man's hour? Then why must I be empowered? If I were, I would not believe in our. Can't convene community if I believe I have authority over thee. Yet we say we are powerful. Is this reclaiming a forgotten dream of long ago, or the fulfilling of a prophecy born from the first bullet hole? When power came from rescinding another's survival. I refuse to claim such a name from this colonial game. I refuse to let them lay claim and tame what remains of our love. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Barnard's annual Sister Spit. I hope you all enjoyed our opening song by none other than Barnard's own Arya Narang, class of 24. You can find her song on Spotify. She's on Spotify. Check her out. Her music's amazing. My name is Mia Flowers. I hope you enjoyed my poem, and I'm a community assistant at Student Life. I also really love fairies. A fun fact about me. Sister Spit is a night for gender non-binary, non-conforming, transgender, gender expansive, and women-identifying individuals to prepare poems and share them and their narratives centered around activism, equity, and racial justice. We welcome poets, storytellers, and community members to the space to breathe, share, and shine in the night's powerful vibe. Tonight, we'll be featuring Portia Oleiwola and Natasha N. Diggs, and student performer Jude. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes and dreams and energies to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hopes of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers, heritage, and differences. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Lenape people whose land was taken from them from our institution and built upon. We must also acknowledge enslaved Africans who were sold and owned by the founders of Columbia University. So, before we begin and we enjoy the privilege of being in this space, we must first honor those who have made it possible for us to share this space online, on Zoom, and in person. With that, let us enter a moment of silence to demonstrate our gratitude. Thank you. And before we begin, feel free to show your love and affection in the chat to our performers. We know they'd love to see it. I know you all are watching on YouTube, so feel free to send some love in the chat. But without further ado, we welcome our first Barnard student performer, a student from the class of 23, the best class out there, to share their talent with us. Jude, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So this is a poem that I wrote about one of my best friends. All right. I run across a busy street, holding my best friend's hand, and home lives in the skin of her palm and the gentle pressure of her fingertips against my knuckles. Her hair is long and her skirt is short, and I look at her with my heartbeat slow and my tongue between my teeth, not because I am holding back, but because I am holding joy in my mouth and gratification in my bloodstream. The world says we are not meant to be here in this moment, twisted together like a rainbow cross stitch, taking up more space than absolutely necessary. Me with my mismatched socks, visible in the space between my mustard-colored Vans and my dark jeans, and her with her Doc Martens, black and clunky and meaningful, in a way that shoes did not ask to be meaningful. Each step like church bells ringing in honor of our sin, and yet here we are, breathing in a sort of hopeful melodrama and exhaling queerness into a world that only inhales that which it sees as normal. We are not normal to this world, but nothing can break through the translucent walls we have constructed around ourselves, walls that are not meant so much to keep others out, but to keep us in, because this 4x4 space that we have carved out for ourselves is the home that we built together when the world did not want to provide us with one. This space is all that we have, and sometimes it's small and cramped, and sometimes my claustrophobia kicks in, and sometimes we fight with each other, and all we want is to be able to leave this tiny space, but we can't, because this space is the only one in which our hands are allowed to hold each other and our words are unfiltered. She's not even my girlfriend, but it doesn't matter, because queerness dances across our skin and sews itself into our clothes, and we hold hands because it makes us feel safe in a way that will never make sense, because nothing could be less true. And the world sees two girls in love, even though we are neither two girls nor are we in love. We are simply two queer friends with physical touch a bit too high on our love language scales. So we stay in our little space, in our ever-moving home, loving but not in love, together in all ways but romantic, and the world looks at us and sees lost souls and wayward hearts, but I look at her and see art. Thank you.
Thank you for your amazing words, Jude. Our next performer will be Portia Oleyiwola. Portia is from the future. Black poet, queer dyke, hip-hop feminist, womanist. Portia is a native of Chicago who now resides in Boston. Oleyiwola is a writer, performer, educator, and curator who uses Afrofuturism and surrealism to explain historical and current issues in the Black, women, and queer diasporas.
Hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here at Sister Spit and also just congregating with y'all in this way and during this month. Excited to hear poems and share poems with you all. I'm just totally going to get into it and think about, honoring the intersecting identities. Specifically, I am half Black Chicagoan, half Nigerian. And when I was younger, some odd years ago, my father was deported. And I went to visit him recently. And when I went to visit him, I asked that he also take me to see a slave port. And I think we drove maybe 3 hours to the coast and to a town called Badagry. And we went on the route and, the walk of no return. And there was a well, which, slavers, colonizers forced folks to drink from, that made them forget their memory, right? It was said that root doctors fixed the water and caused them to have short-term memory loss so that they would forget the way home. So my first poem involves that story, but it is about that. It is about that, and it's called We Drink at the Autonation Well. And it begins with an epigraph from Amy N. Dalton and Lee Hung that reads, "Motivated forgetting is a psychological defense mechanism whereby people cope with threatening and unwanted memories by suppressing them from consciousness." In Badagry, there is a hungry well of water and memory loss. In Badagry, there was a well of people lost across a haven of water. In Badagry, there was a port overwhelmed and unreturned. To omit within the mind is to ebb heavenward. Memory is wealth choking the brain in unresponsibility, violence in the mind, and the mind forgets in order to remember the self before the violence begat. In Badagry, trauma washes ungodly memory heavenward. In Badagry, There is an alternation well, meant to wish away a passage, meant to unhaven a people. Violence is underwhelming in return what the body eats, the mind waters. Responsible is the memory for unremittal. Royal is the body for return. God is the mind for wafting. Forgetting is a port homeward. In Badagry, hungry memory grows angry. In Badagry, the memories unchoke, trauma uneats the royal. In Badagry, there is a heaven of people responsible for the birthright of remembering, for the well of us across a haven of water, overwhelmed and unreturned. Boom. So I've been spending most of my time thinking and writing about two things. The first is like that the Black and African diaspora and water, right? Those two things, and queer intimacy. So that's what we're going to get tonight. I'm super excited. This next piece is, what should I tell you? It's about Phillis Wheatley. Yes, it's about Phillis Wheatley. And it's after an essay in the poem that June Jordan wrote that just was talking about, I think it's called The Difficult Miracle of Black Poetry in America, is that it persists, right? And specifically, she looks at Phillis, and I was just super inspired by that. And this poem is called Something Like a Guzzle for Phillis. And I don't know if I assume folks know Phillis Wheatley, but first Black poet in this country. Something Like a Guzzle, after June Jordan. Was it a nice day? The wake wrinkled water, the waves whipped wood, the wind whined warning of the Phillis. Was it a nice day? Flamingo flustered skies, the foliage flushed and flowering when in floated the Phillis. Was it a slice day? Seeds scald the sail, sweat-soaked skin, secretion slithered the stomach of the Phillis. Was it a white day? The heat held hostage the hills, the sun whoring the hour, the arbor homed the Phillis. Was it a bright day? A week's end at noon, a wide opening, willowing the Wheatley's walk to welcome the Phillis. Was it a nice day? The man, a savaging savior, his wife salved with a slave sold aboard the Phillis. The grass swept, the ocean thundered, the cloud cackled loud, and the air cracked like murder in a mother's mourning. The horizon hollered her name like a hunt before they called her Phillis. Yeah, and I'm just thinking, they named this Black girl after this, the ship that they brought her in on, and I just can't stop thinking about that. I can't unthink it, So this next poem that I'm gonna do is from this little book. It's about a year and a half. It's a year and a half. It's going on 2 years old. That's wild. And when I was first writing it, I took some time to just think and research, and the census is online, So I was interested in names and the history of, I'm like half Black Chicago and half Nigerian. So I know where, my father's people come from, but I was interested in my mother's side and her maiden name and, which plantation it might have derived from. And, I looked up the census from 1850, which is the last one before, slaves were free, to see if I could match the name somewhere in Mississippi. And then I wrote this poem, and right now it's called Unnamed, but it's in the book, so we'll just keep it with that. After the Civil War, many recently freed slaves took a last name like Freedman or Freeman. Others took the last name of their slave masters. Some because they had to swiftly give a name to their newly acquired citizenship, others with the hopes that they may be reunited with family who have been sold or separated during the institution of slavery. My mother's maiden name is Beatty, spelled Battie. Her family is from Mississippi. My grandfather's name is Frank Beatty. His father, my great-grandfather, is named George Beatty. In 1850, during the U.S. Census, they do not list a person's property, just the names of slave owners and the count of the slaves. In Mississippi, there was a woman by the name of Elizabeth Beatty, spelled Beaty, who owned over 50 slaves. And I wonder if this is the cotton plantation route my family roots grew from. I wonder if this is the name my ancestors placed aside their papers and fled the plantation with. Is there a magnolia tree down in Panola, Mississippi, that has all of my family's blood? Williams is the most common last name for Black folks. John Williams of the Louisiana plantation owned over 218 Black people. After Williams, there's Johnson, then Smith, Jones, Jackson, Brown. Racial traumas and triggers are a formal greeting when we call our oppressor's name to introduce ourselves. When our names are a historical leash. Every time I meet a Black person with the last name Beatty, I wonder if we are finally attending the family reunion. Every time I meet a white person with the last name Beatty, I wonder if they know what their family has done, what abuse has allowed them their breath. Oh, what a privilege to know which end of the whipping whip has your name on it, to know exactly what your name is attached to have a name embroidered on the bedroom door instead of the quarters. What a privilege. On the job application, at the airport, at the bank, in the emergency room. And people wonder about Black names, why the names aren't shorter, why the runaway syllables aren't easier to catch, about why we name our children after cars, after birds, after movement. Wonder why Black names are always spelled with distinction, why Black names always have a flair. It's because countries who declare independence get to name themselves, because niggas will always know reclamation. And when our names do not have your lineage, when our names are not what you expect, then what did you expect? For us to introduce ourselves, still running, for us to shake hands, still dripping the blood you drew. I'm gonna stay in the book if that's okay. I'm looking at the time and at the agenda. I feel like I still got a little bit of time, so I'm gonna rock with you guys. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Not today. I don't know if people know who said that. What do we say to the God of death? Not today. In this book, there are also a series of dance odes. I don't dance, but I don't know. I write dance poems. You know, I'm leaning into joy, if you will. What do we say to the God of death? All right, not today. Okay, so this, I'm going to read two dance odes. This first one is obviously about twerking, duh. Also, oh my God, I can't wait to hear the feature after me, Latasha and Diggs, right? Okay, but in any case, this first one is about twerking, and it's for my partner who just like sometimes busts out and dance. We could be talking about the insurrection, you know, and she's just like, and I'm like, oh, I want to live in that joy, you know, I want to figure that out. So it's an ode to her and to twerking, and it's a villanelle, and it's called Twerk Villanelle, because of course, for Valentine. My girl positioned for a twerk session, knees bent, hands below the thigh, tongue out, head turned to look at her body's procession. She in tune, breath in, breasts hang, hips freshen. She slow wine, post waistline to a beat bled for her, ungilt the knees for the session, fair saint of vertebrae, backbone blessing, her pop in, innate, her pop out, self-bred, head locked into her holy procession. Dance is proof she loves herself. No questions, no music required, no crowd needed. She arched into a gateway protecting. This dance is proof she loves me. No guessing. A Bronx bedroom and we hip to hip threaded. She turned to me, trans by her possessing. She coils herself to and calls forth a legend. Round bodied, bootied, bounce a praise ballad. She break whole, turn whole in a twerk session. Body charmed, spell bit toward. I'm always feel like that last word I didn't do right by that last word, but we're gonna figure it out. Toward herself. I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna keep moving. This next poem is a duplex, and I don't know if folks are following poems how I do, but we know Jericho Brown, invented this form and also just won the Pulitzer Prize for poetry. So it is playing with that particular form. And I'll just read it. Should I say something? Yeah, it's playing with this idea of want, desire, intimacy, but also being, queer and fat and sexy and all of those things. And it's called Chase Duplex, Caught Between a Lie and the Food. I got fat bitch and it begins with an epigraph from Cardi B. I got fat bitch pussy because fat bitches got the warmest pussies. That's what I got. I pray to prevent our bed becoming a resting place. I heave, sweat, paint, run so she finds me attractive. I heave, sweat, paint, come, and she finds it attractive. Despite the hunger in my throat, all I do is eat. My throat despising the hunger, all I do is eat her. Ask my lover to sit on my face, to smother my breath. Lazy, I ask my lover to smother my face, my breath. I feast on my back, on sweet whispered vulgarities. I feast on my back, my body, a sweet vulgarity. She is naked and dangerous, and I, a fat song. I, a dangerous, naked truth, fat slung over. I fabricate exhaustion to avoid my lover, I am sure. I fabricate exhaustion. My lover is unsure. Our prayed over bed, our dark, restless place. Boom. I don't know if I read that out loud before, but that was cool. I like that. I was thinking about it. Wow. Thank you guys for having that moment with me. All right, word. I'm gonna do two more and then I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, so it's been a weird time, right? It's been insane. Just everything that's been going on in the world. This past summer, I don't know if you recall, but we were like in the middle of riots and a pandemic, and not to mention all of the other things that have happened since. But I got a call from Netflix to write a poem about pride, and what it meant as a Black queer woman. And this is the poem. Boom. Netflix calls to ask what pride looks like for a Black queer woman. And I join in on the joke. I tell them a flag walks into a parade and realizes it's forgotten some of its color. So the vanguard adds black and brown stripes, paints blue, pink, and white in its corners. The funny part, there is no punchline. Haven't you heard the joke? Science tells us about the rainbow. If you mix all the colors refracting light, the result is a pure white, a pearly milk, an ivory tower glittering the procession. What color is the flag then? Which shade sits pretty up top? The float. Black and brown people and trans women had to be edited into a movement they started. Afterthought to their labor, marginalized while marching. Isn't it gut busting how white supremacy works, how it absorbs all color. Isn't it ironic when the colors bleed together, white shines through, how it never ceases to surrender? Netflix asks what pride means for a black dyke in today's world, and I wonder if they've seen the news feeds lined with black bodies. I wonder what they think to see the streets filled with protesters protesting the protesters. Pride is a parody, refuses to join the fight against police brutality, even though the first parade was rebellion. Don't acknowledge legacy, even though Stonewall was a femmed rim cocktail lunged at the cops. Netflix calls me with a knee slapper, a tearjerker, a death drop of a joke. I tell them to invite all the corporations, fasten the rainbow into dollar sign, build a buck off this blood, call up Adidas, your grandma, the liberals, the queers new to the block, and the cookout too. Bring in the news channels to gate at the black and queer surviving, to marvel the undead in me. Netflix calls to ask about the future, and my mouth wise cracks a riddle. Haven't you heard the parable? Science tells us about the color black, how it exists before the other colors show up, how it lingers long after they leave, how dangerous. My dark, dark humor still refracting light, the most mischievous joke around. Been here before the shine, gonna be here after the sun fades the flag into memory. Isn't it funny? Me alive, end and beginning. Boom. All right, that is it. Let's see. Do I have time for one more? Okay, I'm gonna do one more, then that's it. It's the last dance poem. And Mia, you have been killing this. Jude, that was an incredible poem. Thank you. Mia, your poem was incredible as well. Mia also said I was an Afrofuturist. This poem uses Afrofuturism to reimagine the electric slide as a vehicle, and it's called The Electric Slide Is Not a Dance, Man. I want to privy you to a little secret. Come close now. Good. So, what you need to know is the electric slide is not a dance. It's a transmission code. What I'm trying to tell you is every time I need to leave here, every time I need to get to a place that feels like my mama's cooking or my brother's cackle booming from soot, I sound the gatherings. I bring out the trumpets and the horns whenever I need to shake this crypt dust settle in my bones. I turn my stereo up. Just the other day, so-and-so tells me he wants me to teach him the news. Nigga, I can't teach style. Can't learn blood to drum post to a sound so slick it glide, so free it ain't. Can't teach him or nobody else who not from where we from what's innate. I mean, man, shit, there is a place I need to get to, a grin I need to spread, a quaking of my foundation ungrounded from laughter, the cold and impenetrable thing, how the slide is suave, how the count off for the take off is the dip low, the downswing recollects our plot of land on this earth, picking a leg high, a knee raised, a turn to the left is the way we know to leave our massacre behind. Man, the dance floor is a square padlock you can't crack. Each space we take there is meant for us to occupy. Each brethren is attached to our fronts, our backs, our sides. This pattern is a shield against oppression or depression or hunger hanging out of someone's blue eyes. Our bodies arrange a constellation in memory of the boy who was slain with no indictment, for the guillotine girl who went forgotten, for the housing stacked like the gut of the ship, the dogs in the waters. The blast off happens in sync and our spirits rupture ceilings. We ritual, sacred, secret, originators of a beat cascading. The electric slide is how we leave here. It's how we ascend. This kinship is how we get to a place named joy and go home. That's blood. History, man. Ain't no teaching that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much for having me. So excited to be here.
Can we have some snaps in the chat for Portia? That was absolutely amazing. You can just do like little asterisks and snaps in between. But that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Our next performer will be Latasha N. Diggs. Latasha actually came up in my poetry class. We definitely wanted to invite her in. So Latasha is a writer, a vocalist, and performance sound artist. Latasha N. Diggs is the author of Twerk, and Diggs has presented and performed all across the world and currently lives in Harlem. Let's give a round of snaps in the chat for Latasha.
Hello, everybody. Am I in there? Okay, yes, I'm in there. Thank you so much, Sister Spit, for having me. Thank you so much to the ladies and queer folks for having me here. It's really nice. Thank you. I'm very humbled and honored to be invited. So I'm going to get into it straight on because it's snowing outside. And I want folks to stay warm and be safe. I know everybody's in front of the computer, so let's go and get on with it. The first poem I'm going to read is actually in response to the nomination and later election of Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm going to be reading some newer works, not anything from Twerk. So if you're familiar with that, kudos to you. Here's the new stuff. Maybe for when we gather. Maybe the red stitch was broken in the quilt. Spiraling in storm-feathered stars, she hard-pressed herself to finish. Toil the hair, the conjure of twirls didn't work hiding prayer knots. Whispers always weave these roads in quite the same fashion. A delicate skip, hop while the threads mean to open portals. Imagine necessary white ribbons onto ponytails, later adjusted with bangs. All this work to show we all equal before many routes. Still, we gotta have our moments. Maybe the suitcase and yellowed plastic bags upcycled did not burst at seams. Maybe she, good girl, please watch over her. Pin to jacket was a prayer. Didn't work for less, but might have. We had little and dreamt labyrinths, buckled dress shops, shoes, the shiny marvel, black saffron socks, ankled and ruffled, a chorus chartered to school. Imagine necessary a soup of new brown playmates. Did we understand that? Little girls, this work we knew little about was work, only a child in a stitch of American moments. Maybe the charter was a pose, gathered from blind complaints made wards with treaties she hardened. Hardly an understatement. A teacher's cruel ruler. How proper speech didn't work, nor kill, tamed not. She remembers blood and clan, remembers her ocean, woodlands, quite the opposite. Make way, fighters. Grand calabash matriarchs, imagining necessary glory in tongues. The whistling air speaks. The house needs a cleaning. This moment that sullied means more work. Thus whispered gingerly, like cedar, like pine, on all moments. Somewhere else on the other side of nowhere. During dry seasons in stride with clave Algerian, may taste test Makamba, in here Ching Ching tracks extravaganza phenomena. Lesser seen, the derelict barge, ocean's been blacker than Vanta, urban like Kanish. Memory for fortunate figurines of Preachner ships, Emerald City night shifts of what's evicted right there, endangered declaratives underwater as the lightning strikes offshore. Luau's redu, sound clash and still pan yard. Yardy boys preach beat nut, root soup, cinder blocks, canary, devil's lettuce, blazed up sermons make lazy sky watchers. Hear ye shoreline guardians, shame on the billions who tried and dropped, claim we forgot passage, but we, Lord, from the waterside, Mohican tuck deep divers, didn't we once grind gritty past that there's Pierce Ridge, in the nowhere a homecoming for Drexia's divinity, the moment babies bind here, butternut hues to Atlantis, the alley of living myths, can't sing, swing low for free, so pay a mofo. True, inside we enchanted, grenades, caught in a tidal estuary by golly, sweet bounce of shells overboard cause everywhere comes from a dream in panther, thunder, thunder, greeting claps can't cheat the elegy of gospel church vanishing so far. Somewhere silicon long dated us, sweep, swipe over here, did you dare say leaping honey trap queen's been altered? Of what a joyful noise here on these ghosts of streets of another busy, streets for gangster limb flotation, hoes and they pimps, Guerico, Suarez, outlaw, shalom, maldito, club kids, wings of flutter, fish bait that you know you think you know, so what you know from here. The next three poems actually come from a working manuscript in progress called Village that is exploring my relationship with my mom in a nutshell. Proposal 1, artist statement. This proposal reinterprets the artist mother's famous quote, Latasha, why do you always have to open up your damn mouth? And positions it into a larger framework of a silence identity and survival mechanism. This monument invites visitors to not only think of the artist mother's personal journey from childhood during Jim Crow in the South to poverty and alcoholism in New York City, but also the movement of a people seeking a better life up north and the many who did not accomplish such. This monument celebrates those like the artist's mother who is not successful, for what her historic struggles for a place free of her previous life challenges. Most is our imaginary of what is impossible without resources and a stable, safe community. Wearing a curly hair wig and holding a bottle of night train, she steps timidly into an envisioned version of a single mother self-medicating her depression and despair. She challenges us to think about how this buxom, overweight, Black Native woman with a Southern accent marking her Carolinian roots could represent the failure of the United States, both literally and symbolically, and how her muted internal grief as a woman of color could never bring the US together. Counting sheep. Feces on the forest floor. Mother don't know what she concoct. Vomiting, veering, once she vomits. Let me start that over again. Counting sheep. Feces on the first floor. Mother don't know what she concoct. Veering, once she vomit. Follow the milk, good intentions, outlaw soirees on brownstone roofs. Poppers, her kidneys dizzy, club hops, of ocean sprayed with spirits. No dose studies in karma, breed doubt in self, grow up to throw up, revive genocide, amputations in 3V invoke, hydroxycut, clumsy tissue disconnect through possible vice, low ripple effects rights in choked motion. The corridor runs wrecked at dusk, unintended wrecking of liver, a seizure of frenzied fits, reflux, murmur musings that ruin, dubious needle, botch, venture, 20 within weeks, undisclosed issues, 50 by July, busybody. How wonderful to be complicated. How wonderful to be complimented. When suicide's imminent, reckon the pills does things to the mind. So when mirrors mirror similitude, remember these gestures. The child's eyes, eye, an opening, righteous, right, she thought. Eyes reckon, no different, no better, just like mother, sobriety, Siamese, destined, if not yielding. Jesus, children of America. Hear Mama Moto moan, her spirit a sour, high moan from covers moving words, muffled, move parallel, can't stand for nothing cause Mama can't stand unright, unmedicated, medicated on fortified. View Mama case record, a feet high from a record crate, nose rose sweeter, save maybe those dried in Bibles, self-taught hands sewn hymns, high water, transfer in marrow, narrow men wax thee, whip her and me holy. Care saves no one near a pint of chilled transcendental. Common sense and common errors. See Mama overrun, raggedy redeemer, moan, markings, hook scars on skull, vicious vex, seedy arenas, Mama drown in high gutter, raw murmur. Only boys still born. Now Mama ration muscatel, Miss Cry loves company, mania a mascot. 7 Marys in a tree, ain't one was Mama to Mama, rack at this memoir, mildewed. That nuisance of a black mold will get you. Holy roller soliciting for a muse, rescue me, rescue my mold Mama. Nothing but some bad nerves. And now a poem before my final poem. Ageya Zumbi, after Stanley Browning. O número total de minhas passos em the Bronx. Watashi no stepu no sosu Harlem. El número total de mis pasos em Helmond. Watashi no stepu no sosu Nishi Ogikubo. O número total das minhas passos em North Carolina. Watashi no stepu no sosu Okinawa. El número total de mis pasos en São Salvador de Bahia. Watashi no stepu no sosu Tasco. O número total das minhas passos em Jalaki. Watashi no stepu no sosu Vandase. El número das mis trampos en Ile Yuba. So my last poem is going to accompany a video. Or do I have enough minutes for a poem before that poem? Just let me know. We don't? Okay. So let's go on to the last poem, which will be accompanied by a video. And it is called The Bag Lady Remix. So I'm just going to wait for the video to come up. Is your window seat on Eurorail, dejected ballads on loop, dragging one line so it carries to no ear? Is you sanitation man shucking muck? Is you your lungs caught? Is you salad you choke? A container of novelty totes? Is you carry-ons dragging up gates mistakes, crowding up time whilst misery winds? Is you broken hourglass with grievances invalid? Is you weekenders overweight near freight? Is you things piled a hoard of is you? Is a forget to take it down to goodwill? Is you me and I? Trafficking emojis, so millennial. Is you a pallid dawn, silk scarves, satin? Salty. Don't it feel like a relapse, ache like a rheumatic fever hoodoo? Hoodoo for issues. What closets need ain't mothballs, but therapy. Is you the cringe at baby showers, acid reflux? The minuscule is you. Love don't make it better for him, and yeah, her. Hourglass, moan. Every year overpacked, fluttering. Rheumatoid, is you pregnancy knots? Is you a husband? Dreams of rada dies? Is you mix mantras and flights abroad? The tick boom, is you passe? Your world spins faster. Sunshine so void. Average talk is a strange. Ain't you lucky? Gratitude. Is you three wishes lapsed? Old previews too punishing. In the corner, the timeout headlocked. It's true. Forgive you. Fast awaits them once. Is you what you willed so much the old ladies stopped asking? For you on point with black caster, always making your plane don't transfer to that attraction. A mask. Is you smiles and argon, bergamot? Is you poised till infinity? Is you destiny? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Latasha and Diggs. That was amazing. Can we give it a round of applause in the chat? But alas, this is our close. So thank you so much for attending our annual Sister Spit event. If everyone could come back. Wow, look at your beautiful faces. Killed it. If we could give another round of applause to all our performers in the chat, show some love. Performers, if you go to the comments tab, you can see what everyone's saying. Special thanks to Jude, Latasha, and Portia for their remarks and inspirational words. Please join us during the semester for other student life events led by myself and everyone else on the amazing student life team. I think it has the most color of out of any of the groups on campus in terms of administratively. So you should definitely pull up to all our events and our identity-based meetups. Follow Student Life on Instagram, Facebook, and sign up for our newsletters and alerts about when our events will be taking place and what is going to happen. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and everyone, thank you.